we made a comment here. What was it on this program or was it on the Drive-Thru? Whatever that it's Oscar time coming up.
Oh, the Drive-Thru.
The Drive-Thru. It's Oscar time coming up. We mentioned we should give some corny awards, and already people have been on Twitter and they're nominating their own cornies. So I think we should encourage that. We will read some of them on the air. Let's just open this up. What is the email address that you so eloquently give for the Drive-Thru program every week?
Oh, we're not going to give that one out. I'm going to be flooded with emails when I'm trying to find questions from.
Or do we give another one? Do we have an experience email? Where do we send these?
I guess maybe they could tweet us. I don't know.
Tweet. Well, then I don't have it on paper.
I guess, okay, CornyDriveThru@gmail.com.
But put awards in the subject line.
That'll work. There are people who put their own name in the subject line. I don't understand why. Or they'll put question. What else would it be?
There are people, one I know specifically, a disbarred dentist in California that puts the entire email in the subject line.
He's notorious for that, yeah. Oh, man, no, I can't say it on the air, but I heard a story about him the other day.
Well, but now, what do you mean, Gene?
Man.
I can't say it on the air, but if you call the hotline. Can we put it on Patreon?
If people get their parents' permission before dialing. No, I can't. It'll give away.
Well, then you've just tickled everybody's taint and then walked off and left them, including me.
I'll just say this.
Off the air.
I'll just say this. There have been so many great characters in wrestling history. Dr. Jerry Graham, Johnny Valentine. I mean, guys who outside of the ring, you hear stories and you're just fascinated. Don Fargo.
Yeah.
None of them hold a candle to Dr. Mike Lano. Or Lano. No one even knows how to pronounce his name correctly.
I always thought it was Lano.
And Bob Barnett calls him Lano, and other people call him Lano. He used to send me stuff where his name was Paul Lano. I mean, I literally have no idea.
I remember that. He used to have a stamp or something or whatever.
Yeah. He sent me for Christmas one year, like, free dental visit. He's in California. I'm a kid. What am I going to do? But the stories about him are always amazing. They never fail, and they're always true. And there's always witnesses. And
well, now that we've just jacked everybody off, where we were going with that was emails. In the subject, if you want to contribute to the Corny Awards and or possibly have them read on the air, send it. What's the email again?
CornyDriveThru@gmail.com. Put awards in the subject line.
Yes, and corny is CORNY.
And through is THRU.
Yes, but people sometimes put an E in the corny.
And people sometimes write THROUGH, drive through, and then it doesn't get to us and they complain.
Well, there you go. That's another case of there you are. All right.
Hey,
anyway, what? Yes.
You got me going.
What?
You got me going now. You got me going. My favorite piece of mail I ever got from Dr. Mike Lano.
Okay.
And again, let me just say, tremendously nice guy. Tremendously nice guy. You meet him and you're like, oh my God, this guy seems like a really straightforward, nice guy.
Seems normal.
And then just chaos everywhere all the time.
The letter, he will write half of the letter to you on the envelope that he sends the letter in.
He used to rip, I don't know how you get away with this. He used to rip used postage off other envelopes he received, I guess, unless he's stealing mail, and he would tape it or glue it to the envelope he sent you. So it would be postmarked twice, the original postmark and the new one. But one time he sent me something, writes all over the envelope, and it was a bunch of stuff wrestling related. I forget, it may have been something around a Dennis Carluzzo show, so it was like him just sending stuff to be helpful in his own way. So maybe stuff about Eddie Gilbert. In the middle of that, for no reason whatsoever, was a photocopied page out of the National Enquirer. Crooked, not even photocopied straight, and half the article cut off, not that I cared about the article. And it was about Farrah Fawcett, and he just wrote at the top, man, Brian, Farrah's really gone downhill. I have no idea why he sent this to me. I've never spoken to him about Farrah Fawcett. I don't give a shit about Farrah Fawcett. Charlie's Angels. She was off the show, I think, before I was born.
Okay, but now wait. But his newsletter, because since he was a dentist,
Wrestling Reality.
Well, his gimmick was Real Lano, WREALANO, whatever, at Wrestling Reality. But his column was Canvas Cavity. And this was also for seriously now, folks, ladies and gentlemen, this is not part of a bit. He had a cable access show out in Northern California, the San Francisco Bay Area for I don't know how long, called Canvas Cavity. And he would put on like random VHS tapes of wrestling and interviews that he did with people and himself. And at one point, because he offered free dental work to any wrestler if they came out to his office in San Francisco. So he one time filmed himself doing Abdullah the Butcher's dental work and put it on his local cable access show.
My favorite thing on his show is when he would have a guest that wasn't there, and all you would see is him in his lab coat staring at a phone while the person spoke on speakerphone, and it would just be him staring at the phone.
Well, I've told this story on the show before, but Cactus Jack, everybody knows Mick Foley's Careful with a Dollar, and back in the early 90s, around the WCW, he may not even have been with WCW at that point, but his lovely wife, Colette, they're out there in California, and Lano does some procedure on her teeth, bonding or whatever, and invites them to breakfast the next day at the hotel before they leave town. And of course, he does the thing where he didn't remember his wallet. But during the actual breakfast, the shit that he did on her teeth started falling out. He's the one that got me booked in Japan for the Lucha Group. We told that story here a while back on the program by impersonating me. And it was his idea that after I left WCW, I should go to Japan and book for the Lucha Group. I don't speak Japanese nor Spanish. And I said, well, yeah, I don't think that'd be a good idea. So I get a letter in the mail a couple months later from Shinma, who was the boss of the thing. Hi, Mr. Cornette, we appreciate your communication or whatever. Maybe before we talk business, you come over and say, they invited me to see one of their tours and to discuss, and I had to write to get back and say, I'm sorry, I believe someone has misrepresented themselves to you, kind sir.
He got Dave Meltzer banned from All Japan once because apparently there was a group of Americans on tour over there, and the way it was put to me was they were the embodiment of the ugly American. And they were at the All Japan show, and Lano started dropping Dave's name, and Mrs. Baba, who was kind of notorious for being a bit of a hard ass if she didn't like you, but very nice if she did, had always gotten along with Dave. And because she believed Lano, that was it. Dave was persona non grata for a little while there.
Well, I'll tell you one more. And this is actually because some of these videos are available, not now at jimcornette.com, but when Cornette's Collectibles, when the store reopens and I finish my refreshing and restocking break, mid-February, we're more on that later, folks, but some of these DVDs are available. When I did the Smoky Mountain DVDs and the OVW DVD with Kit Parker 20 years ago, Kit Parker Films, we sent the masters over and we'd done all the stuff and the ins and outs, and they were editing. And I said, do you need pictures? He said, no. He said, I've got all the pictures I need from the guy from the magazine. And I'm thinking he meant, well, obviously, usually it's Bill Apter. I think at the time he was with Wow magazine. That was what, or, somebody with Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the mag. Okay. Come find out when we saw him. It was too late. The guy from the magazine was Mike Lano. And that's why there's pictures on some of these releases of people who are not on the goddamn DVD because it was a good picture that Lano liked. I don't know why. Well, and by the time I saw it, it was too late.
The other issue famously has been Mike Lano sending photos around that aren't his And that's one of the reasons why ECW Press won't use his photos anymore and various other people won't, because he has sent not just like, oh, I made a mistake. I thought that was my photo. I was there at ringside. Like photos he clearly had nothing to do with, like one's out of Sports Illustrated when they did the wrestling issue. I believe one of the stories was he sent a photo of Hogan versus Andre at WrestleMania. He wasn't at ringside. But he's notorious also for, you've seen him, he's definitely been a ringside photographer. The quality of the photos is up for discussion, but he's famous for sending around photos that he didn't take and trying to take credit for it. And the other famous thing, and I get a kick out of this to this day, he claims he's been shooting ringside since 1966, which is impossible. I mean,
wait a minute. How old is he's not that much older than me, is he?
No. I mean, let's say maybe 63, 64, right? In that range, maybe.
Well, maybe he's 60. If he was 65 years old and he'd been shooting ringside since 66, that would mean that he was shooting ringside when he was 11 years old.
No way. There's no way.
In San Francisco for Roy Shire.
No, in Los Angeles, where...
Oh, in Los Angeles.
Theo Eric, maybe the greatest wrestling photographer ever. Dan Westbrook, an established and great photographer who had his work all over the world. And Mike Lano? No. And there's no footage of him.
Little
ever.
Mikey, little 11-year-old Mikey. Hey, Dan, move out of the way. Theo, I got to get this shot with my fucking brownie.
Well, like I said, very nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Never say a bad word about him.